What makes someone willing to put their life on the line? Is it anger? Is it revenge? Is it the thrill of combat? No, it's something quieter, something deeper, something that doesn't roar, but whispers loud enough to drown out fear. The truth is, the bravest people don't run toward danger because they hate what's ahead of them. They move forward because they love what's behind them. Not because they want to destroy, but because they want to protect. Behind every soldier charging into fire, there is a reason burning brighter than the flames. A photograph tucked in a vest. A child's drawing folded in a pocket. A promise whispered before deployment. I'll come home. That love, not hatred, is what transforms a man into a soldier. Because when you fight out of love, you don't hesitate. You don't flinch. You just move. Not to survive, but to make sure someone else can. That kind of love is the greatest force on earth. When a soldier stands on the edge of battle, his boots buried in dust, his hands trembling around cold steel, it's not the weapon he carries. That gives him strength. It's not the uniform, not the commands echoing in his ear, not even the training drilled into his bones. What truly keeps a soldier standing is the memory of what he's protecting. A father remembering the small voice calling daddy at bedtime. A mother clutching a handmade bracelet from her child. A young man thinking of his partner's last hug before deployment. A daughter whispering, "Be safe, come home." That is the weight on his back and the fire in his chest. Because when death stares you in the face, you don't hold the line for medals. You hold it for what's waiting for you behind you. And that is where this quote finds its truth. A true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. A sentence. Simple, but it holds more weight than any weapon. Because it doesn't talk about victory, or blood, or rage. It speaks of love, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that doesn't need to be explained, the kind that simply says, "I will not let the ones I love fall." This quote is not a motto, it's a mirror, reflecting the soul of every true warrior who steps forward not for glory, but to guard what they can't bear to lose. Hatred can drive a man to fight, but it burns fast. It consumes. It leaves nothing behind but ash. Love, though, love is different. Love is steady, enduring, quiet, but unbreakable. Hatred may push you toward the front lines, but only love can make you stay there. When everything inside you is screaming to run, because love doesn't ask, "What do I want to destroy?" It asks, "What must I protect?" And that's the difference between a fighter and a soldier. The fighter sees the enemy. The soldier sees what's behind him and says, "For them, I will not fall." In every battle, whether it's fought with rifles or with silent tears, there are always two forces that drive us forward: hate or love. Some people live with their fists clenched, hearts hardened by betrayal, driven by the fire of resentment. They move not because they want to protect, but because they want to punish. They strike because they believe someone must pay. But hate is a fragile kind of fuel. It burns fast. It feels powerful in the moment, but it leaves you hollow once it's over. Then there are others, those who fight not to win, but to shield. They move because they know someone is counting on them. Someone is praying they'll make it home. Someone is whispering their name in the quiet of night. They are not driven by revenge. They are powered by love. And love? Love doesn't burn out. It burns steady. It holds you upright when your knees give in. It whispers, "Not for me, for them." That is the heart of a true soldier. And not just soldiers on a battlefield, but the silent ones among us, parents, caregivers, Survivors who choose every day to keep fighting, not because they hate their pain, but because they love who they're fighting for. It's easy to look at a soldier and see the uniform, the weapons, the discipline, but the real armor is invisible. It's made of memories, of quiet goodbyes, of trembling hugs at the airport gate. Every step a soldier takes toward danger is tethered to 1,000 quiet reasons to live. A mother's tear-streaked face at the send-off, a daughter's drawing folded neatly inside a helmet, a worn-out wedding ring tied with string and kept close to the chest, a photo smudged, faded, but never left behind. They don't carry just ammo and gear. They carry promises. I'll come back. I'll make you proud. I'll do what I must, so you don't have to. It's not hate that gives them courage. It's that burning need to protect the world they left behind. They remember birthdays missed, songs they used to sing with their kids, late-night phone calls with their partner, the kind of conversations that end with, "Stay safe, please. I need you to come home." That kind of love doesn't shout. It doesn't demand medals. It simply says, "Whatever it takes, I will do it for them." And that's why, when the world collapses around them, when fire rains down and fear grips the soul, they still move forward. Because they're not running toward death, they're running with love, carrying it like a shield, and trusting that it's enough to bring them and others home. You don't need to wear a uniform to be in a battle. You don't need to hold a rifle to be a protector, because life, in its own way, throws all of us into wars we never volunteered for. Maybe your battlefield is a hospital room. Maybe it's a kitchen table filled with unpaid bills. Maybe it's the silent war inside your own heart as you try to keep going for the ones you love. But just like the soldier, you carry something sacred behind you, a family that needs you, a dream you refuse to give up, a child who looks at you like you're their whole world, an aging parent who still sees you as their hope. You're not fighting because you want to. You're fighting because you must. Because there's something or someone you're not willing to lose. And that love, that reason, is what makes you brave. So the next time you feel tired, the next time you wonder why you keep going, remember this: the strongest warriors aren't those who destroy what's ahead, but those who protect what's behind. That's what a soldier knows. That's what you, too, have within you. Not hate, not rage, but love. Quiet, powerful, enduring. Sometimes, to truly understand what it means to fight for love, you have to witness someone who gave everything. Not for glory, not for recognition, but simply because they couldn't bear to let the people behind them fall. And sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't the ones told with fanfare, but the ones whispered through generations, about men and women who chose to burn so others could survive. This is one of those stories. In 2005, in the blistering heat of Iraq, Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe was on patrol with his unit. A quiet, steady presence. A man known for his unwavering loyalty and deep, almost fatherly care for his soldiers. He wasn't flashy. He didn't seek attention. But to those who served under him, he was more than a leader. He was family. Alwyn was the kind of man who would carry more weight in his pack, just so his younger soldiers could carry less. The kind of man who stayed awake through the night to check every perimeter himself, not because he didn't trust others, but because he couldn't sleep knowing they were in danger. To him, command wasn't about rank. It was about responsibility, about love. And one October day, that love would be tested in a way that would define his legacy forever. It started like any other mission. Routine patrol. Just another day in the unpredictable dust and danger of Iraq. But fate had other plans. As the convoy rolled through the narrow roads of Salahuddin province, one of the Bradley fighting vehicles hit an improvised explosive device, a roadside bomb. The explosion was deafening. Shrapnel flew. The vehicle erupted in flames. Diesel poured out, catching fire instantly. Inside that armored coffin were Alwyn's men, trapped, burning, screaming. Alwyn was in a different vehicle, but in an instant, he ran toward the fire. No hesitation, no second thought. As he reached the inferno, he realized something horrifying. His uniform had caught fire. Flames licked up his legs, his chest, his arms. He was burning alive, but instead of retreating, instead of stopping to save himself, he kept going. He climbed onto the Bradley. He pulled out one man, then another, then another. 6 times. 6 burning, agonizing times. He ran into that hellish wreck. His body a torch, his skin melting, his lungs choking on smoke and pain, just to save his soldiers. Witnesses said he didn't scream in pain. He screamed names. Get him out! He's still in there. I won't leave them. By the time it was over, 72% of Alwyn Cashe's body was covered in burns. 3rd degree, irreversible. But even in the medevac, even when his voice was barely a whisper, he asked one thing: are my men okay? Not, will I live? Not, does it hurt? Only, are they okay? Because to Alwyn Cashe, their lives meant more than his own. And in that moment, he wasn't just a soldier, he was something far greater. In the days that followed, Alwyn Cashe was flown to a military hospital. He was wrapped in bandages from head to toe, sedated, barely able to speak. His body was broken, his skin charred beyond recognition, but his mind, still sharp, still focused, still selfless. When doctors leaned in to speak with him, his first question was always, how are my guys? Not, will I survive? Not, did I do enough? But, are they okay? Even through unbearable pain, even while facing the reality that he might never see home again, his only concern was them. And when asked why he had run into the fire, why he hadn't stopped, why he hadn't waited for backup, why he didn't think of himself, Alwyn Cashe gave the answer that would echo across every soldier's soul for generations to come. I couldn't leave them. They were my brothers. I had to get them out. No medals, no speeches, no need for applause, just love. Fierce, unyielding, unquestionable. Because for Alwyn, duty wasn't about rules, it was about heart, about standing between your people and the fire. Even if it means walking into it alone, that's not just courage, that's devotion. That's the kind of heroism that doesn't need to be explained, only remembered. Alwyn Cashe passed away on November 8th, 2005, 3 weeks after the explosion. His body could no longer bear the burns, but his spirit, it never once gave out. At his funeral, soldiers who had served under him stood silently, many with burn scars of their own, knowing that their lives were a debt they could never repay. His name began to echo quietly, then loudly, across barracks, battlefields, and halls of remembrance. Not because he sought fame, not because he left behind a best-selling book, but because in his final hours, he showed the world what it means to love, more than you fear. For years, his brothers in arms campaigned for his sacrifice to be properly honored. And in December 2021, more than 16 years after he gave his life, Alwyn Cashe was awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States. He became the first Black American since the Vietnam War to receive the honor for actions in combat. But to those who knew him, he had always been more than a hero. He was a guardian, a brother, a protector. His legacy is now etched into the soul of every soldier who chooses to run toward the fire, not because they hate what's ahead, but because they love what's behind. And that is what makes Alwyn Cashe a name we should speak, not just with reverence, but with purpose. You may never step onto a battlefield. You may never wear a uniform or carry a rifle. But every day, in your own quiet ways, you fight. You fight for your family, for your children, for the people who need you even when you feel empty. You show up. You carry burdens no one sees. You protect dreams. You defend hope. That is what a soldier does. And when the weight feels too heavy, when the world burns around you, and your heart whispers that you're too tired to keep going, remember this. Alwyn Cashe walked into the fire, not because he hated what was in front of him, but because he couldn't bear to lose what was behind him. You too have someone or something behind you. A reason to rise, a reason to keep loving, a reason to stand even when it hurts. Because love, real love, doesn't always look soft. Sometimes it wears scars. Sometimes it walks on burned feet, but it never runs away. And when you live for what you love, when you protect it with everything you have, you become the kind of person who may never be called a hero, but will always be remembered like one. If there's someone or something behind you that gives you strength to keep going, someone you would walk through fire for, someone who makes your heart whisper, "I can't give up yet," then leave a group in the comments. Not for attention, not for likes, but as a quiet tribute to the love that holds you up when everything else falls apart. And if this story touched something in you, if it reminded you that courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it burns and bleeds and still stands tall, then subscribe to USM, Soldier's Memory, because here we remember not just the battles fought, but the hearts behind every uniform. And every week, we'll bring you stories of sacrifice, of devotion, of the kind of love that never runs. You're not alone in your fight. And here, your memory too has a home.